All right. I think we are live. Hi, Kyle, A0Z. Welcome to the new CW Operators Roundtable. And my internet is horrible.
And here we are.
I
So
am
Kyle's
still in
internet.
Florida, and we're going to try and get through Vince.
uh,
I can't
so
win.
so Kyle had brand new internet installed at the condo in Florida, and they said it was fiber optic internet, but they neglected to say that it was cotton fiber and not glass fiber. So welcome to the new CW Operators Roundtable. I am your temporary host. I am Vince VE6LK. And we have our cast of folks here tonight. We'll start off by asking Glenn to say hello and introduce yourself.
Well, hello guys. It's good to see all of you, and it's a pleasure to be here, and it's an honor. Glenn Norman, W4YES, just relocated from Alabama to Georgia. I haven't even had time to update my QRZ page yet, but it's going to be soon. Um, so not back on the air yet, but I will be also soon. And have been doing CW for more years than I can remember, um, and have been teaching CW for 7 years, 8 years, something like that. But anyway, I find CW for me the only mode to go. Not that anything else is wrong, but for me, I just love the sound of it. It's always had a beauty to it. And what's really weird is, as a novice years ago, I thought CW was a cruel and unusual punishment to get a license, and I just hated it. Now it's all I do. It's what I love. This is fun.
Right on, Glenn. Well, we're tickled pink to have you along this evening. And I'll introduce some of the rest of the Peanut Gallery, the cast of characters. We'll start with Adam because his name begins with A. What's been going on with you, Adam?
Very good. Thank you, Vince. I got out for my first Summits on the Air activation since last year, since I think November today, which was kind of nice. Took the new to me Mountain Topper MTR 5B out with an antenna that I just built and tuned for it. Worked all bands today and had a blast out there. And by the way, thank you for the chase. And I'm sure I'll see a few in the chat here that chased me as well. It was a good day. Had a blast.
Right on. That's great. Okay, let's go over to Evan. Hey, what's new with you, my friend?
What's going on, Vince? How you doing?
Good, man. Welcome aboard.
Thanks, man.
All right. Any news to share what's going on this week with you?
Not much new in my world. The weather's been kind of lousy here, so I haven't been out as much as I normally am. I've got some activation videos scheduled to go live. In fact, one live tonight. I've got several more QRP head-to-head videos that'll be rolling out here soon. So yeah, I'm just waiting for the weather to break. Well, you know how it is living up north in the winter. It's no fun. So
Yeah, man, it is unfortunate. Sometimes we got to deal with that white cold stuff. And Mr. Matt, K9EI, what's going on?
Hey Vince, not a whole lot. Thanks for having us on, Kyle, and Vince for filling in there. Just been well, let's see. I did some contesting over the weekend. The
Right.
ARRL DX CW contest was 48 hours. Started on Friday evening, about 7 o'clock Eastern time, and went all the way till Sunday, and managed to get 509 QSOs, which is like the largest effort that I've ever done in a contest on CW. And I've only been doing CW a couple of years since I started it in about 2020. Taking an online class just to learn 0 to 5 words a minute or 20 words a minute, 5 words character spacing, back with CW Ops group. So so I had a lot of fun with that, but it was crazy, crazy because the conditions were so good. You could basically use a piece of spaghetti to get on 10 meters and a couple watts of power and go all the way around the world. And then crazy because the Europeans and their pileups, if you're trying to run, they're just ruthless, and they don't give up and they don't slow down, and it's just bang 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 bang, super challenging. So it really tested me, as a CW newbie with my recognition. So I struggle with a couple things, and I've gotten into some bad habits. So I'm keenly interested in Glenn's conversations tonight, and I also signed up for his class. So
Awesome.
I did that today. I filled out the form today. So that's what's going on with me. We'll hand it back to you.
Well, that's great. It's awesome, and not a bad thing to go and try and beat yourself up in a do good in a contest. And I'm told that contests sometimes make or break people, and it sounds like it made you better. So that's awesome.
Well, it definitely clues you in on your weaknesses for sure. And I had a lot of fun with the contest software. I got the station running great. So, but I could do better on it up here.
Well, you're a brave man for running during this thing, man. I mean, field day or something's one thing, but this is a whole different ball of wax.
Yeah, and that's what I realized. I was like, man, this is no joke. These guys they're out for blood.
But Matt, if you hit 500 plus, man, you did great. That's fantastic.
Well, I can listen and read the characters. So if I'm searching and pouncing up and down this the band map, I can click on one, then confirm it at whatever speed that they send it. They can go as fast as they want, and I can still decipher what they send. But if I'm not looking at the screen and their words or their letters or characters, then I'm down to like 8 words a minute or something. So that's my gap. That's the knowledge gap.
As long as we're having fun, it doesn't matter. As long as we're having fun.
Yeah. It was a good time. 500 was the biggest effort.
Right.
Well, right on. Well, so our special guest this evening is Glenn, Whiskey for Yankee Echo Sierra. Now, Glenn is the founder of CW Innovations, and in the description below, Kyle has placed the link to cwinnovations.net. Now, Glenn says, if you want a revolution, it's here now. Are you on the air, stuck? Are you plateaued? Are you practicing, getting nowhere? So we're going to talk about some of those topics tonight. And Glenn, when I took a look at the website, the one thing that kind of struck me was this concept of instant character recognition. And so tell us, what's your definition of instant character recognition?
Okay, thank you, Vince. It's an honor to be here. Thank you guys for having me. Instant character recognition is, if you get to thinking about what we are doing when we're listening to CW, it's all about the letters, right? I mean, in the beginning, there is a point where you can actually do instant word recognition, but for most of us, we're in that zone where we're trying to make that jump from decoding dits and dahs to that hearing characters as a single unit. And we already do that with things like CQ, right? We don't think of CQ as 2 letters as much as it's just a single sound. Same with 73, and it's because we've heard it so many times, right? And so it's that same idea that we ascribe to each of all the 40 characters being the alphabet, the numbers, and the 4 punctuations, period, comma, slash, and question mark, because those are the ones that we are mostly used. And to be able to hear those as a single unit and make that leap from decoding, we call the decode monster, into hearing those characters as if someone is just speaking the character itself. And that's what instant character recognition truly is looking to achieve.
And so you said 2 interesting words in the middle of that: decode monster. Now there's a term I haven't heard. So what's a decode monster?
Well, decode monster, it's actually Dr. Ed Walker. He's one of our alumni. He was in a class this past summer, and he's the one that came up with this term, decode monster. When we first learn the code, we have to learn it as dits and dahs. I mean, each letter is described a certain code, right? That's why it's called code. But there is a point when we we have a pencil in our hand and we have paper, and we're listening to dits and dahs. We hear a dit, dah, dah, dit, and we write down a P, right? There is a point where the brain gets to a point where we simply cannot go any faster as long as we stick with that decode way of doing it. And it becomes a monster. It it just stops you. You hit this what we call generally a plateau. And that's
Okay.
oftentimes around 10 or 12 words per minute. And it's like, I just can't seem to get past this. And it's because we're still doing it the way that we necessarily did it when we first learned the code. And we brought that to that point, and now we've hit this wall and think, well, now what do I do? And so that's when one needs to convert over to listening to the code as single characters rather than dits and das.
Dits and does. So getting past the counting or whatever technique people are doing, right? So
Right.
so the decode
Right.
monster. So all right. So we'll come back to decode monster then. So uh, I famously asked this question once. Can you teach an old dog new tricks? So like,
Oh,
what can ICR do for me, or do for
well, it
any of
depends.
us on here?
Yeah, it depends on where you are, but as long as someone knows the code, is on the air in some capacity, and reason I'd like to see people on the air is because that is often, it's not the code that often stops people from getting on the air, it's themselves that stops them from getting on the air. It's a fear of embarrassment, or it's an emotional key fright, it's called. There's all sorts of terms like that. But we do like to see people on the air have kind of conquered that obstacle, so to speak, to get there. And the beauty of converting to the instant character recognition method is really not, it's really something that kind of evolves. Someone will say, well, I've been doing code for 60 years and I don't do instant character recognition. Well, if you're proficient to a point of 20, 25, 30 words per minute, you are indeed doing that. There's two systems in the brain, and Dr. Ed Walker says there's system one and system two. System one is our subconscious mind that's really doing the work. It's doing the heavy lifting. The conscious mind gets in the way, that's where the decode monster resides, is in our conscious mind. And we're hyper focused on those dits and das. And the subconscious mind is going, if you'll just get out of the way, I got this. And so we're trying to get past that system too, to get really to the part of the brain that can do that heavy lifting. And once that, to give you an example, I had a class going years ago, and one of the students asked a question. He said, what is a question mark in Morse code? This is a beginner class. And before I could answer, someone else said, it's did it, da, did it. Of course, that's correct. That same person who answered the question said, and it sounds like a question mark. Oh, what? It sounds like a question mark. Well, if you get to thinking about it, did, da, did, sounds nothing like a question mark, but he had associated these two items so closely in his brain that one sounded like the other, right? And so the goal of instant character recognition is to do exactly that with all the characters, with the entire character set.
So let's review that last sentence again, because there's a really key sentence in there. The goal of ICR is to
recognize characters at a pace that you would like, that's coming into your ears, whatever pace you wish to copy code, and you can easily keep up with it. In fact, it becomes comfortable, it becomes calm. You're not on the edge of the seat, you're not about to crash. You are comfortable. You can copy at the speed beyond what you're copying on the air. But is that comfort zone? By the way, when you're copying words, you are copying words from front to back. So let's just take the word, I don't know, to pick a word. There's a bench behind you, right?
Sure.
BENCH, right?
Sure.
I don't get to the H and then try to do like on paper. I would write down the H and then look back and see the BENC, and I would understand it's the word bench. If I try to do that in my brain and I get to about a 5-word sentence, a 5-letter word, then I start to fall apart.
Sure.
If I hear YELLOW, I go, wait, did that start with a Y, or I think there was an L or an R in there or something like that? And what order was it? Well, by that time, the next word is overrunning. So what ICR will do for you is allow you to hear that Y, and you hear the sound of Y, and you E, and then okay, I know it's YEL something. Okay, and you hear YELL, and your brain literally goes, okay, I think an OW is probably coming next. And so at the instant that word is finished, you are ready and waiting for that next word to come. Because if you have to look back, you have to think back, then you're lost. And that's when our heads explode and everything is lost, at least with longer words.
Yeah, and so uh, a couple of people have said to me that if you can fail fast and keep moving, if you can skip past what you've missed and keep moving, you won't at least get caught up in all of that, right? I call it fail fast, but there are other probably better ways to phrase that. Um,
I call it missing fast. The same thing. You're right.
yeah, sure,
Yeah.
but
And
and you know,
Thomas
like,
Edison, that I think he was quoted saying, it's not the speed of the character that's the problem. It's the pace that is coming in, right? It just keeps coming. There's no relent. And when it does that, of course, if you get behind, you better let go of something that you missed, because the next one is going to be there and gone. And you're back here trying to think of something that is then you miss everything. You have to kind of reset between each point.
And one
yeah,
thing I've noticed just as I've gotten better at this is, you take the word yellow. If you miss a character in the middle, but you copied the rest of it, your brain will automatically fill the rest of the
Yes.
word in.
Yes. In fact, longer words are often easier to copy than short words because of like the word it. If I miss the I and all I get is a T, I have no idea what that was. But the word yellow, like Evan just said, if you miss something in the middle of it, your brain will generally fill in a blank.
yeah,
In
indeed.
fact, the best decoder in the world is between our ears.
Yeah, it's the best software. We just have to train it.
Yeah.
Sometimes install it, says the IT guy. And so I guess we're all here to understand how we obtain this magic elixir called ICR. Like, how do you get it?
Oh, well, this is one that you wave over your head 3 times, swing a chicken around. No, I'm just kidding. If it were only that easy. It takes time, of course. It takes time to learn a new method. Part of also what the difficult part of learning code this way is oftentimes is unlearning methods that we have installed in our brains in the past. And those old habits will come back, and the decode monster will latch onto those old habits and say, I'm not letting go of these things. This is what happens when the code comes into my ears. The other thing is there's nothing visual about Morse code. I like to say learning Morse code and becoming proficient using our eyes is like trying to learn colors with our ears. It
What a
simply
great
doesn't come in
quote.
that way. It just doesn't come in that way, right? So the idea is to get to a point where you can relax and not have to think about what's coming in. It literally starts to sound like someone is just spelling the words to you, and it sounds like YELLOW. If you want to do this at 10 words a minute, 20 words per minute, once you learn how to learn the code, and to me, this is learning how to really learn it in a way that's beyond the beginner. And by the way, there's nothing we all have to step through that beginner phase. That's where a beginner should be. You want to reach that next level. This is kind of what's necessary to switch from that decode of dits and das and start listening for those sounds, because a da it at a speed will sound like a P. It will sound as if someone spoke the letter P. And once it happens that quickly, I say instant. Nothing is instant, but the idea is the word instant is to give it a temporal context that indicates that this is happening you're recognizing the letters faster than they're coming into your ears. That's really what instant character recognition will do for you, is you're recognizing the characters faster than they're coming into your ears.
Okay, so there's a great definition, recognizing the letters faster than they're coming into your ears. And that really, for me, that solidifies it. I've been struggling with this whole matter of ICR and coaches saying, "Oh, you should know them within 3/10 of a second or 7/10 of a second or whatever it is," and these are all well-meaning pieces of advice and that I've been receiving, but it's never gelled for me just like that. So I don't know how many of our folks watching on the stream tonight, 77 of you. That's great. Thanks for coming out. By the way, hit the like and subscribe button while you're there. That gelled it for me, and I'm sure for a bunch of them as well. That's awesome. Now you spoke about unlearning. How does
Yes.
one unlearn? So, for example, I learned fetch a fireman, did it audit, and I cannot unhear that every time I hear the letter F.
Yes. In fact, I wish you hadn't even said that, Vince, because once that gets in my head, it's hard to
Dang it,
not
Vince.
think of that. So if anyone else has one of those, please don't say that out loud.
Yeah,
I can't get it out of my
it'll
head.
be the only one I do.
I've got one. I won't say it though.
No,
Yeah.
don't say it.
I
Don't
have
say it.
I have 7 of them, and I'm not going to share any of
Oh,
the rest. But how do I unlearn that? Like, so you talked about unlearning.
yes, yes. One cannot dispose of something that they've learned. They have to overlay it with something new. So you simply have to push that out of your brain with something to replace it. We can't forcibly unlearn something. It's like unseeing something that we've seen. We have to replace it with something else that is going to come to mind sooner than what the old way was. And your example, Vince, is probably the one of the most deleterious methods that I've seen people struggle with is that, right? That little mnemonic that their brain brings when they hear did it audit. And another is repeating the code in their head. That there is this tendency, and we've all kind of been there. I think we hear did it audit, and we in our minds we go did it audit F, right? We repeat that. And the idea of instant character recognition is we get rid of all of the things that slow us down. And that's actually two examples. There's all sorts of things that we've learned. And old guys like me, I mean, at 5 words a minute to get our license, it was just the most wrong way to learn the code and try to become proficient. It just forces you, the decode monster, it just feeds that decode monster.
Sure.
Yeah.
I sure do remember my first 5 word per minute contact. So I got my code endorsement in 2003, and in 2004, Canada dropped code as a requirement for HF privileges. So I promised my examiner I would use it and make at least one contact. And you're darn right, I made one contact. And I did it with that goofy joystick key, and many of you have seen that before, and the pictures are up on my website. And I did it at 5 words a minute with Bruce Beeman, who was in Boston at the time. He's passed away now. Thank you, Bruce. Thank you, Bruce, for setting up with my 5 word per minute queue. So you answered me when I called, and it was so painful. I distinctly recall saying back to him, "Gotta go. My head hurts. Thank you, 73," or my brain hurts, or it was bad pain. I can appreciate that. Start as fast as you can, right? Is the common thought today. We've learned so much in
Right.
the past 20 years, right?
There's been so much learned, and keep in mind that much of what we typically think of as academia for Morse code comes from the military, which was really teaching code. It was teaching people to copy the code in a way that is completely different than what we're doing now. If I'm on a battleship and I have a mill in front of me and I hear "da," I hit A, that's out of my head because it's an encoded message anyway. I'm not going to make any sense of this. But now we're listening to the code and mentally head copying this stuff, and not just copying characters, or copying words and phrases, sentences, entire streams of thought, and having conversations with the code, which was not done. And so a method that teaches it the old way was good for that purpose. But we've learned a lot in the following years, and we're still, I think, in the renaissance of learning how this happens in our brain. And that's what Dr. Ed Walker has done for us at CW Innovations, is he started to uncover the machinations. He's a neurologist, a neuroscientist, I should say, and a researcher. And he took the course and came through it going, okay, he kind of put two hats on. He was like, okay, I'm a student, but I'm also a researcher. And so I'm going to learn this, but I'm curious as to why this works. And so he's counting neurons and milliseconds and all this sort of thing. But he has really kind of, I think, helped us break through the idea of what's going on in the brain when we're doing this. And to have a conversation using this kind of method, you really don't think in terms of letters anymore. You're thinking kind of in terms of thought, and to break free of that burden, that hanging on to your fingernails kind of thing you just described, Vince. That's painful.
Yeah, it sure was painful, and I haven't used that key since, except for demonstration purposes. It was that painful. I still believe that. I still remember that, and I'll probably never forget it. But that's a great learning, right? So then let's switch gears and talk about learning then. It what I've heard, so I haven't personally experienced CW Innovations. I also haven't experienced Long Island. I'm a CW Academy guy. I've been through a couple of courses. And what I understand about CW Innovations, Karen Eve Murray said to me, CW Innovations is going to teach you how to learn. So tell me about that.
Okay. If we keep, what was it, definition of insanity, right? Keep doing the same thing and expecting different results, right?
Yeah,
so
that's
let's
exactly
do something different. Well, how do we know what to do? We have to learn what to do. And so what we do at CW Innovations is we're not teaching you the code. We're trying to get you to a point where you're learning how to learn the code. And it's that next step that Karen was talking about, and Karen's wonderful. I'm going to talk a little bit about Karen. I'm just going to pause here for a second. Karen came in. She's wonderful. Karen, KD2GUT. Karen came in and I talked to her about joining the class, and she was stuck at 10 words per minute. And she said she had been there for like a couple of years. And she said, I'm hopeless. I'm stuck. And so I told her about the class. It's 10 weeks long and all this sort of thing. And when she got finished, she said, well, I'll be glad to join you. I'm looking forward to it, but I've got a question for you, Glenn. I said, what's that, Karen? She said, what are you going to do with me after 10 weeks? And I haven't made any progress. Now, I thought that was such a memorable moment. Karen took off like a rocket. Okay. And she's having 20 word per minute QSOs now and having fun, and she's hilarious. And so she's an example of someone who hit that 10 word per minute decode area and just got stuck. And so learning how to learn the code is understanding that there is a method beyond that because you simply can't at 20 words per minute, 25, whatever you wish to go beyond about 10 or 12, you get to a point where you simply have to take that next step and stop decoding, get rid of that decode monster, push it away, bury it, and let the system one, the subconscious mind, open up and say, I got this. If you'll just let me take care of it, I got this. Our subconscious mind does most of what we're in fact, as we're communicating right now, think of the complexities of what our brains are doing while we're having this conversation. And Vince, you're looking at the chat while you're talking with me and understanding everything that's going on. I mean, think of what the brain is doing right now. And we do this all the time. Our brains are wired to do this. We just simply have to get our conscious mind out of the way enough to where that part of our brain can take over and do its job.
Our brains are wired to do this, and we have to let our conscious mind, we have to tell our conscious mind to get the heck out of the way.
Get out of the way. Get out of the way. Stop slowing me down. Those mnemonics, the repeating the code. Another thing that we insist upon is if you're going to do this well, you really need to put that pencil down. We can all head copy. I'm convinced anybody can do this, but the pencil will slow you down. When you get to a certain speed, the pencil, you simply can't write any faster. I remember having a friend years ago, and I went out to lunch with him when he was a fellow CWer, and I told him about going 25 words a minute. He goes, oh, okay. I know. He was telling me about he's going 25 words a minute. I said, you must head copy. He said, no, I don't head copy. I write. It's like, you write at 25 words a minute? He said, yeah, I write in tiny little letters. Like, seriously? That's your answer, is to make smaller letters? You can put the pencil down and just sit back and enjoy the conversation. He goes, no, I can't hit copy. And so anyway, that's kind of an example of how we cling to that mechanism, that pencil, thinking that there's a part of our conscious mind that just refuses to make mistakes. It refuses to accept the fact, and it's a fact, that we're going to miss stuff. We're simply going to miss things. And once we let ourselves miss, once we let that happen and kind of give up on just, you know what, this is just, I can't do this anymore. Now you're at the place where you're really going to start making progress, because that you told that part of your brain, I don't care anymore. I'm going to stop trying so hard. It's paradoxical in nature that the harder you try to do something, the more you get of what it is you're trying to accomplish. Excuse me, the less you get of what you're trying to accomplish, and vice versa. The less you try, the more success you have. That's the learning part.
Okay, my head is spinning.
Now let me just bring one thing to the forefront here. In order for us to hear characters as single units, it cannot be done at 10 words a minute, 12 words per minute. I'm talking about character speed only here. Okay, so just the character speed. If you listen to dit, da, da, dit, you will never hear that as a single sound.
Sure.
Right? It's 4 sounds. And it'll always sound like 4 sounds. But our brains are capable of hearing that at a faster character speed and making it sound like a single unit. If you think about, for instance, the spoken letter W, if I say W, I'm actually doing 6 different things with my vocal cords, teeth, tongue, and lips. 6 different things. It's not dits and das, it's 6 different things. But we hear, when we say W, we just think one sound, when it's actually 6 different sounds that's going on. And it's our brains that are just, we've been doing this since we were toddlers, right? And we learned the alphabet as children. And so it doesn't seem like something we have to, our brains just do it. We don't even know that it's nuanced like that. We've forgotten how nuanced that is, that the brain can pull that off.
Sure.
Yeah, so the character speed is vital. And so what we do at CW Innovations, we say, okay, we want you to hear the characters at least 30 word per minute character speed. And I've had people come back and say, I mean, I must be in the wrong place. I don't do Morse code at 30 words per minute. How did I get here? And who talked me into this craziness, right? But that's just the character speed. Okay, you think of da at 30 words per minute. In fact, if you'll turn on any practice software, turn it up to 40 or 50 words per minute and listen to a character, and you can generally understand, you can hear what that character is. It's amazing
Sure.
what our brains can do. But we trained at that 30 to 35 word per minute character speed, and we just simply put space between the characters. Some people call it Farnsworth, some people call it effective speed. And what we do is we first define, using that character speed, we define which characters are giving us trouble. I want to stop for a second and give a shout out to the silent key Nancy Cott, because years ago when I was working with CW Academy, and we basically needed something between the beginner and I rename these things, but between beginner and intermediate now. There was nothing in that slot, and so we were losing a lot of people because so I built a bridge with the basic class, and at that point I thought it was around 20 words per minute character speed. Later on I began to think it's more like 27 words per minute. Now, just due to the hundreds of people who've come through, we're at about 30 to 35 word per minute character speed, and that is kind of the point where the brain, it'll bend the brain. It says, okay, decode master, I'm going to give the code to you at a character speed that you simply cannot handle. you're going to bend the brain to hear that sound in a different way. And once we do that, then we start to learn. Then we define the characters that are giving us trouble. We go back and practice. We practice on those, and we find out which ones are giving us trouble by finding out which ones are requiring more time to recognize those. It's all about recognition time, right? So we oftentimes we don't know that maybe people will say, "What? It's really weird. D gives me trouble, but D is in my call sign. What the heck, you know?" Yeah, it's like I didn't know I was having trouble.
I've had that experience before.
Yeah, right. We've all had that experience. And what's really it's so fascinating that the characters that we have trouble with on a Monday may be different than the characters we're having trouble with on a Wednesday. It's sort of a whack-a-mole game that we're playing with the characters.
Well, why is that?
I probably need to get Ed Walker in here to tell us why that is. I haven't asked him that
All right.
question.
All right.
Yeah, but I really believe there's a part of our brain that takes these characters that we think we know, and it's communicating to that part of our brain that is storing it away so that it can be used for a longer term method. And oftentimes we think we know something that we aren't so good at. So Nancy Cott wrote a couple of articles, and they're out on the web all over the place, but we have a copy on our website. And she was brilliant enough. I mean, to the point where she was the one that really defined this idea of character recognition. And she said, if you hear did and you go a, well, that is a problem. Right? It's not the A, it's the You can't copy code at higher speed. If you keep going and that pause,
Sure.
that's the thing that's slowing you down. So we define which ones are causing that to happen for us.
Real good. Well, so this is fascinating to, I'm sure, everybody here and everybody who's going to be watching this on Team Replay. Thank you for educating us on that there is a different way we can learn. And so tell us about the structure of the course. You said it's 10, 12 weeks?
It's right. It's 10 weeks. I remember at CW Academy, which is 8 weeks long for their courses, and it's a great amount of time for what's being done there. I had a class at CW Academy that was in the spring, and the guys were in the class said, "Hey, let's just keep going." It's like, oh, okay, I guess we can do that, right? So we kind of went into the summer. Let's keep getting together and having fun. But I noticed that about the 12-week mark, people were getting less interested. They were just kind of getting tired of it, right? We'd gone for 3 months, and understandably, they're like, okay, this was fun, but it's not as much fun now. Well, when I created the basic course, it was necessarily 8 weeks long because that's the pattern for CW Academy at the time, and still is, and it was fine, but it always felt a bit shoehorned. The course just felt a little smushed together. And I thought, well, if 8 is too little and 12 is too much, then let's try 10. All right, it was just kind of a swag, and so it's 10 weeks long. We meet twice a week, usually on a Monday, Thursday. We have some midday classes. We have a lot of evening classes, that sort of thing. We're about to start a morning class here pretty soon, and it's gone worldwide. We have people in Australia and all over Europe and other places, but it's what I noticed in the basic class that I had put together was people get to the instant character recognition portion of learning, and they think, "Oh, I've got this character recognition stuff down. I know the characters. I don't need this practice. I want to get to words. Let's start practicing words." Like, no, guys, you really need to come back here and spend some time working on this character recognition. I don't need that. I just want to get to words. Okay, I know where this is going. And they start copying 2-letter words, 3-letter words, 4-letter words is a stretch. 5, it's time to face plant. because we simply cannot keep up with the speed of the code coming in and trying to keep track of 5 letters. We get to 6, it's impossible. Anything past that, you're hitting, I mean, at 5 letters, it was amazing how predictable that was, that 5 letters was the point where people's heads started to explode. And as far as head copy. And so I broke the course up into modules because I want to focus on particular aspects of this and stay up. Like module 3 is really the instant character recognition module, where we hover for a good long while. We probably spend a couple of weeks just on that one module. And then we proceed to abbreviations, small words, things like that, longer words. We get all the way to train of thought by module 9. So it's a total of 9 modules, and we break it up and sort of it's drip education. Basically, we're just sort of doling it out a little at a time versus giving an entire curriculum to the folks that, like I say, oftentimes they skip the good stuff. But what's interesting, Vince, is that in module 3, which is the instant character recognition, we oftentimes think we've got it. Okay, let's get to module 4, which, by the way, is missing fast. We literally have a lesson on how to miss the code, because we have to get to the point where missing becomes as easy as getting, because we get hung up on the missing. So we literally learn how to miss. But once people get into the abbreviations and words, they realize, oh, I gotta have to go back and really get better at the instant character recognition. So they have to go back and do some more practice, which is fine. In fact, we build it that way so you can go back and keep honing those skills as you go forward. But one of the things we absolutely emphasize is being on the air, because instead of having a course where your end goal is to get on the air, this one I flipped upside down and said, if you're on the air, you've made it that far, come on in and let's get good at this. And you don't get good to get on the air. You get on the air to get good. Let's face it, you can practice your life away and never think that you're good enough to get on the air. And it's not the code that holds people back. It's that fear of missing and embarrassment and all the emotions that go along with that. So we ask people, when you're starting the class, we ask you to know the code, have some proficiency. I don't care what it is, 5, 8 words a minute, whatever it is, but be on the air. Be brave enough to be on the air. I don't care what it is. If it's POTA hunting, I don't care what it is.
Contesting.
Just be on the air. Contesting. Come on in, Matt.
We're on a frequency.
Yeah, brother.
Oh, really? That's so getting over that fear aspect. That's what I was really struggling with when I first started out. And because of slow speed test was there, the SSTs on Sunday nights and actually Friday afternoons. I said, you know what? I'm tired of searching and pouncing. I'm not doing that great. And I know if I just get on the frequency and just run the frequency, who cares if I screw it up all to hell?
Yep.
I'm done not getting past that point. So that's why I contest, so I can, and that cured the frightening aspect of it all. And you go out and you activate POTA. Who cares if you screw up? It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. Just go out there and try to learn something from the mistakes you make. Oh, I missed Z, so I need to practice that. I screwed up this guy's call sign. Maybe you know what I'm saying? It's just jump right in there and then get to it.
You know what, Matt? The only place we really learn anything is when we make mistakes.
Yeah.
That's really the only place we learn anything. And so if you think you're going to get the code down to the point where you're not going to make mistakes and then I'll get on the air, you'll never get on the air, right? You'll never get there. You have to make mistakes.
It's like, I'm afraid I'm not going to drive because I'm afraid of crashing, but I need to get to work. So it's counterintuitive, right? To think that, I'm afraid to get on the air because I might feel like an idiot. Well, if you don't get on the air, you'll never know if you're an idiot.
my mom used to say, don't care what people think about you because they probably don't. And it's the truth. People are not out there thinking anything about me. They're thinking about themselves and doing whatever they're doing. And I can go out there and make up all kinds of nonsense, and they don't care. People don't care. But somehow we have, and what's amazing is that children can oftentimes learn the code, not just because of the plasticity of their brain, but they have this bravery to just get out there and do it. And
Well, they don't know anything different.
As adults, we become fearful of being out there doing these sorts of things.
You know, I've had lots of students who were super afraid to get on the air, and so I recorded some QSOs between myself and very experienced operators. I let them listen to the whole thing and all the mistakes we make, how we misspell things, sending strings of dits, having to repeat things. And I'm like, some of these guys have been doing this for 30, 40 years, and they're making mistakes. You don't have to be perfect. Just get on the air. If you get on the air, you will improve drastically.
Yep. And you know what, Evan? Everybody makes mistakes. Everybody. I don't care how long you've been doing this. And so people get this incorrect notion that I must be perfect at this in order to be out there, because these guys are so good. They're so good. They never make mistakes. Wrong.
Yeah.
They are making mistakes all the time. And so come join the fun.
Yeah. So with the making mistakes thing, like, have you ever been in a room with Morse code operators and somebody's sitting at the radio decoding and they're sending something and then they mess up and everybody goes, it's because they're laughing not at the mistake. They're like, oh yeah, I've been there.
Oh yeah. Well,
we're going through the same thing all together.
In my shack, when I make the same error 3 times in a row, I try to say something and I miss it, and I miss it again. I miss it again. There's this right there. I have a verbal reaction to it. It's like, oh, come on, man. Yeah. And sometimes I actually have to change what I'm sending because I can't send it. My hand's just not working. It's just not going to do that. So it's sort of like Porky Pig. He comes up with a different word for what he was stumbling over.
Well, like my brain will get ahead of my hand and I'll start sending stuff that I'm trying to send a word and it's just coming out all sorts of messed up, and I've got to stop, reset everything, and just start sending from scratch again, because I'll do the same thing when I talk. My brain gets ahead of my mouth. So
sending is a really important part. I'm glad you brought that up, Evan, because sending, I have a code buddy. He said, why do you repeat words? You keep repeating words. He said, you send it perfectly well. You repeat. I said, because I don't remember sending it. I don't remember if I sent it or not. So I sent it again, just to make sure I sent it, because I wasn't sure. But sending is a really important skill that we oftentimes miss. And so we focus a lot on sending. Now, what's really different about our course is that we don't do any code sending or copying in the classroom. And this is revolutionary. If you think about a regular classroom, let's say I'm taking calculus or something in a college class, and I walk in the classroom and the professor says, everybody turn to the back of the chapter. I'm going to do the homework problem. We're going to do the homework problems in class. I think, well, when do I get to learn how to do these problems? Aren't you supposed to teach am I supposed to learn how to do the problem? Isn't that homework? Which means I do this at home. And so we don't do and by the way, one of the beautiful things about not copying and sending in the classroom is we can have a range of proficiencies within the classroom, say from 8 words per minute to 20 words per minute. Everybody's on the same level, right? No one's the caboose of the end of the train. No one's coming in dreading like, oh man, I've got to perform tonight. This is not about performance. This is about learning and friendship. We have 10 people who come in as what we call team members. We're a team. I don't even use the word student. We're team members because we are a team. We become friends. We have code buddies that we mix up with. We divvy out to each other, and we go find a code buddy, get on the air with them, talk to them on the phone, laugh about what you missed, have fun, and it's a closed group, and it becomes a real friendship camaraderie that comes out of this. There are groups of the classes that are still once a month still getting on Zoom just to visit with each other, just because they made such close friendships. This is a powerful mechanism to pull people together and have everybody kind of relax, take a breath and relax. You're amongst friends here. No one's going to laugh at you. No, you're not going to be embarrassed. You're not going to be comparing yourself with anyone else. and it's a powerful way of building a community, small community that has a trust factor that allows you to make mistakes and have fun.
So one of the things you were talking about is, you're not sending any code in class. You're taught. You're just having discussions about the code you sent out of class. You're actually, for those of you who don't know, I'm a teacher. I've been a teacher for 23 years. What you're describing is something we call flipped classroom, where we have the students learn the information outside of class, and then they come to class. We have a discussion about that information, and it tends to work very well. So,
Yeah.
I didn't know the name of it, Evan, but somehow we stumbled into that.
Yep, yeah, it's called a flipped classroom. That's a very, very effective way to run a class.
Flip classroom. Okay. There we go. See, I knew that all along. No, I'm just kidding. I had no idea that's what we're doing. But it's amazing that people will go and do their practice. So the idea of being on the air, by the way, is as you learn, you're applying those principles you're learning amongst each other. You're using those on the air, because that's where you're going to really make your progress is on the air, right? We already talked about that. So you're learning how to learn, and you're getting out on the air and using those techniques.
Well, Glenn, this is incredibly enlightening, and I hope you see a tremendous influx of students coming into your course as a direct result. Thank you for explaining all of the concepts in behind it, and a little bit about how the course works. Once again, down below in the show description, you will see where Kyle is pointing. You will see cwinnovations.net, where we are all pointing, and you can hit up on that link and go read all about the course and sign up there. With the few minutes we have remaining, I'd just like to go around the table and see who's got stuff coming up this week on their channel, or activations or whatever. And once again, I'll go back to Adam.
All right. Well, a couple things. I've got a stack of at least some of my antenna kits sending to Amazon probably this week. I think 20-watt male and female BNC most likely is what's going to go out. I restock those as often as I'm able. Sorry for the wait, but I guess hopefully the wait is worth it for you. And then the other thing to note, I should have a video prepped from today's activation and posted probably either this week or next. So.
That's awesome.
Well, that is great. Very good. Thanks, Adam. Hey, Evan, what about you?
Well, like I said, I don't have a whole heck of a lot coming up. I mean, I've got a bunch of stuff scheduled, but I'm trying to get some new radios to play with. I'm not necessarily in the market to buy anymore, but I'm looking at trying to use some other people's radios to kind of. Vance is like, wait, you're not going to buy any radios?
You sure you don't want one?
how the heck are you going to get radios if you're not buying them? That's what made me laugh.
I've got people sending me radios, believe it or not. But I'm trying to get some good comparisons going. So when people are looking at buying radios, they've got some kind of data points. So I've been doing some of that kind of stuff. Like I said, I'm just kind of waiting for the weather to turn so I can get back out and start doing some activations again. So
yeah, right on. Hi, my name is Vince. I'll take your radios too. I'm kidding. Hey, Matt, what's going on? What's coming up?
Well, for me, in my very small YouTube channel, I kind of do it just for fun. I'm not really into it for the fame and glory like these other guys on the channel tonight. But I was thinking about doing another. Kyle, I was thinking about doing another POTA series, just for myself. This time it's just going to be QRP only. So I won't be over 5 watts, to try to live up to Adam's standards up on the mountains. However, I don't have any mountains here in Indiana, so it's all just flat and hilly, couple hills. Anyway, whatever. I'm putting some antenna kits together. Not as glorious as Adam's, or as his are high demand. Mine will just be for a ham fest. So buy Adam's. His are better. So that's what's going on here. Doing a little spring cleaning around the shack and just trying to keep having fun. And,
right.
Glenn, thanks for everything tonight. The phrase copy monster, was it? What was the
Decode monster.
decode monster?
Decode
Okay.
monster.
Yeah,
I'm gonna put that in my brain
it's a
from this
monster.
point forward to realize when I'm like frustrated about something. It's that's the claws coming out.
Right.
That's the decode monster.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's a really good visual too. The decode monster. I'm gonna try and commit that.
We need to
Kyle,
make a T-shirt.
Kyle, let's tempt the cotton fiber internet gods. What do you got coming up this week?
Well, first, I need to thank Vince for leading the discussion tonight. Thank you, Vince. I appreciate it with my internet issues. Glenn, this was a very interesting discussion. Thank you for being a guest, and
Thank you, Kyle.
it's made me think about quite a few things in my CW world. And I've just got a lot of videos about handcation. Got a couple more coming out, so take a look at that on the channel, and that's about it.
Okay, well that's great. And geez, for me, if you are looking for a Morse tutor kit, those are back in stock. Go to my website, ve6lk.com, and look for the Morse tutor kit link. I have those ready to ship right now. And if you're really bored and you suffer from insomnia, and I'm stealing Thomas's line by saying this, you can go visit my YouTube channel where I have posted a little bitty series called One CW Question, and many of the faces on the call tonight are making guest appearances in that. And these are meant to be 2 to 3 minute bite-sized questions about CW and to help people learn. So my YouTube channel at V6LK. So folks, thanks very much for coming along this evening. I don't know how Kyle wraps this up, but I'm just going to do it this way. From all of us here at the new CW Operators Roundtable, thanks very much, 73.
Vince, everybody, thank you for having me tonight. My pleasure.
Thank you, Glenn.
Bye-bye.